Welcome back to the Microsoft Flight Simulator A to Z series. Have you ever been flying in heavy fog, looking at your altimeter and wondered, is that number actually telling me the truth? If you haven't set your QNH, the answer is probably no. Today we're looking at the most important Q code in the cockpit, the magic number that keeps you from hitting the ground. Before we dive in the cockpit, let's first look at the theory. Air has weight, and as weather systems move, that weight or pressure changes. Your altimeter is basically just a fancy barometer. QNH is the barometric pressure, adjusted to mean sea level, also known as MSL. By setting this number, you are telling your airplane, this is what zero feels like at the ocean today. This ensures that your altimeter says you're at 5,000 feet, you are actually 5,000 feet above the sea, regardless of the local weather. So how do you find the current QNH? In Flight Simulator you can do that via multiple ways. The first way is by opening up the communication channel and then connecting to the ATIS frequency. Because if you connect to the ATIS frequency, you will hear that endless loop about information from the airport. In this case you can see that the QNH is also likely mentioned, right? Let's have a look at it.
Temperature 15, dew point 13, altimeter 29902, ILS runway 35 in use, landing and departing runway 35, VFR aircraft say direction of flight, all aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact, you have Quebec.
You see it over here? Here's the altimeter. That's the value we need because that is the QNH. The other way could be, let me try to shut down the ATIS. So here we go. Now we're good. The other way is to open the electronic flight bag. You can do that by pressing the tab key and then you can go to the flight planner. In the flight planner you need to go to the active airport. In this case I can zoom into the airport, right, which is this one, and then I can click on it and I can press more info. As soon as I've pressed more info I can go to the weather tab, and in the weather tab you will find a lot of information including the air pressure. This, by the way, is pretty interesting because the ATIS told us something different compared to what's listed here. Now there's another trick, and that's by looking at the metadata itself. Right, this is the visualization of the metadata, but this is the METAR string. But if you look carefully, there are a lot of numbers, right? There's the airport identification, and then there's a lot of other information. And if you look here, I would say after that A, you can see A2982. That's the air pressure. The second method is by using the EFB, the electronic flight bag, and you can do that by simply opening it and then go to the flight planner. If you didn't open it yet, you can simply open it and then you go to the map, and that's where you find the airport. The airport, you click it and then you select more info, which shows this information. By default it will open up on the general tab, but you can also move to the weather tab and then move to the METAR tab. Now the two options, you can either read the METAR string, which is, if you're new to Flight Simulator, can be pretty complicated. But here after that A, this value, that's the altimeter or the air pressure. But for those who prefer to get the visualized view, you can also look at this value because this is the value we'll need. And the strange thing is that this value is different than the one the ATIS has provided to us. So let's try to adjust the aircraft and set this as the air pressure. So to do that, we're gonna zoom into this button, because this button allows you to set the course, but as you can see, here's the Baro. And if I adjust this, you can see that this value changes, but look at the altimeter, it also changes. So keep an eye on that, make sure that you're setting the correct value, because this can be a huge difference if you're flying. Also, during the flight, or you will be updated about the latest QNH value, right? The altimeter. Make adjustments, especially for landing. That's super important because else things will go wrong. Now there's another thing which you need to keep in mind, and that's this. As you can see here, this value is in IN, which stands for inches of mercury. That's the value which is used in the US and Canada. But in Europe and most of the rest of the world, you'll be dialing into hectopascal. There, the same value, right, 29.92 for example, is 1013. Most planes in simulator allow you to swap between these with a small toggle switch next to the knob. In this aircraft, right, the Cessna 172 with the G1000, you need to do it differently. If you don't want to figure out it yourself, there's always an easy way, and that's by pressing the letter B from Bravo on your keyboard. This will make sure that the altimeter is automatically set correctly for you and you don't need to worry about it. And then there's another topic, the global transition. Let me explain it. QNH is for the ground. Once you climb high enough, you switch to the standard pressure, which is 29.92 in inches of mercury or 1013 in hectopascal. But high enough depends on where you are flying. As you can see on this graphic, in the US and Canada the transition altitude is fixed at 18,000 feet. However, if you're flying in Europe or the UK, you might switch as low as 3,000 or 6,000 feet. In Australia it's 10,000 feet. Check your charts, for example, if you're using Navigraph, for the TA of your specific airport. Just remember, set standard on the way up and reset it back to QNH on the way down. Make sure that mountains stay right where it belongs, below you. So let's have a look at how we can do that with this G1000 in the Cessna. So what we need to do is we go to the PFD options, and inside the PFD options you will see this option over here, which is called standard Baro. You can see that the value now changes here, and look what has happened now. If we would, I would say, use this, then we're at, I would say, 80-ish from the ground. So that's the difference. If I'm now, say, decreasing again, right, I'm preparing for the landing, I'm below that 18,000 feet, I need to change it again by pressing the same option, and then it will set the value back to the value which I pre-configured prior to setting it to the standard. So we're now in an Airbus A320, to be specific, the Airbus A320 V2, and here you can see that it works differently, right? You can change between in this case the hectopascal and the other value, right, the inches of mercury, by simply moving this button. You can see 1013 2992, but if you want to move it to standard, you need to pull this knob. If you pull the knob, it will change it to standard, and then you're good to go. If you want to return it, simply press it again, and then you're on that value which you pre-configured. For the other aircrafts like the Boeing, it works kind of similar, so I won't show them in this video. Mastering your QNH is the difference between a safe flight and a controlled flight into terrain. Always keep an eye on that pressure. If this cleared the air for you, hit that like button. Next week we're moving to the letter R, and we're talking about, well, that's a question mark. Keep an eye on my channel, because I will post a survey so that you as my subscriber can select the topic we're gonna discuss for the letter R. And again, I hope you liked it and hope to see you back next week.